Oh, hi everyone, this is Dr. Schroeder with this week's video introduction to week number 5 of our course in evidence-based practice. And we're at the halfway point, the end of week 4, and starting with week 5 is officially the halfway point of the course, so congratulations, you've made it halfway through. And week 5 is kind of set up as a little bit of a breather. Been a lot of work so far in the course. The first few weeks of course were primarily all of you were involved with doing a literature review and a literature search related to your evidence-based practice projects. And the culmination of that first part of the course was that paper that you all did and turned in last week and that you've all received feedback on. Uh, Essentially, the evidence-based practice project is broken into two parts. The first part that you just completed is really substantiating and showing how you determined that your intervention, this evidence-based practice, new procedure, new technique, new process that you have all developed is really founded and based in the research, and that you've indicated in the research, or you've described and assessed the research to show how it really is the best practice, and that why this is the best practice for your particular organization. I've given you feedback on all those papers. A few of you still need to make a few additions or a few adjustments to your PICOs. I've given you a little bit of information about that within the paper. Um, the only part of this paper that's going to be part of your evidence-based practice part 2 is that table, the table of evidence. The table of evidence is essentially where you start your evidence-based practice paper with. And so if I've given you feedback that the table either doesn't have enough information or needs to have more information summarized from the articles, you'll need to do that, because essentially you're going to start your evidence-based practice part 2 with a summary of the evidence and updating that summary of the evidence as needed with that table. You don't have to include those uh, those evidence tools anymore, those things that were added as an addendum. You don't have to worry about those anymore. Those will not become a part of the paper, but that table will. If I given you feedback that your table looks good and that you don't have to add anything to it, you're pretty much good to go with it. You can just go ahead and copy it into your new paper. And week number 5, we don't have a discussion question. You actually have a little bit of a reprieve from discussion questions this week. And that's to give you more time to work on your evidence-based practice part 2. Part 2 of the project is where we're going to talk about, and we'll start discussing in the class, how you actually put this plan into action. What is the plan that you come up with for, well, developing the new intervention? If you come up with a new process, a new intervention, some new way of doing things, you have to come up with a new procedure and a new process that has to be taught to staff. And so we'll be talking about actually planning how you're going to do that change and how you're going to prepare your staff for the change. Who's going to develop the policies and the procedures? Who's going to develop the tracking tools? Who's going to do the training? How long is it going to take all that training to occur? What resources is it going to take? How much is it going to cost to do this thing? All these things are going to be covered in the evidence-based practice part 2 paper. Also included in that paper is a plan for evaluation. This is where that time frame is important for a lot of you. I said that you really have to have a time frame at the end of your PICO, because this paper is going to require it. What is your evaluation plan? How long are you going to look at your data before you go back and determine that your intervention was successful? And so that's why that T part of the PICO really is important here, that there always has to be a time frame involved, the amount of time that you're going to take to track your results. And so that's what we're going to be talking about quite a bit in class as we move forward. The excuse me, the process for implementation is going to follow the Johns Hopkins process. We're going to be talking about other implementation models and assessment models within the class, but the one that you should be focusing on for your paper and for your project is going to be the implementation plan provided in the Johns Hopkins textbook. So again, I won't see you in the discussion questions this week. I will be monitoring your class for any questions that come up. As you have any questions, go ahead and let me know. I should have your discussion questions, your discussion question graded sometime by about midweek or so. And as you have questions, go ahead and let me know. I hope everybody has a great week. Let me know if you have any questions. I'm more than happy to help you with any aspect of your evidence-based practice projects here, and I look forward to seeing you in class.